I'm gonna emphasize this right here and right now. Go see Ladybird. So Ladybird is the story of a young woman named Christine who has adopted the name Ladybird. It's a name that she created, it's a name that she has given herself. And Ladybird at this time period is a senior in her Catholic high school. She has dreams and aspirations of going off to big liberal arts colleges, big city colleges, except almost everybody in her life, including her mother, is telling her she's not gonna get out there, and even if she does manage to get out there, she's just gonna crash and burn and come running home. But Ladybird is determined to get through her senior year to make it off to college and make something of herself one day. And there's one thing I forgot to mention. This is a directorial debut by somebody named Greta Gerwig. And let me say, this is probably the most groundbreaking and phenomenal directorial debut I have seen since earlier this year with Jordan Peele's Get Out. Ladybird was absolutely phenomenal. There's a lot I absolutely love about this movie, but one thing I need to put on the table right away is that although this is about a rebellious teenager, so to speak, going into a Catholic high school, it doesn't really demonize religion or Catholic schools whatsoever. It actually shows them in a bit of a positive light, and I don't know about you guys, but when I watch movies that it's so obvious that they're either demonizing atheism, they're demonizing people being agnostic, or people are demonizing religion, it kind of gets on my nerves and I just get sick and tired of seeing it. Also, the interaction between characters and the coming of age element to deal with Ladybird, I gotta say, it impressed me quite thoroughly. With the coming of age factor, we've had Ferris Bueller's Day Off, we've had Edge of 17, we've had The Breakfast Club. I gotta say that Ladybird actually offered some insight that me personally, I have never seen before in film. And the way the dialogue is scripted and how the conversations between characters are filmed, it feels very natural, it feels very organic and realistic. Many of the conversations that are inside of this movie, they don't have a specific beginning, middle, end. The dialogue is filmed and shot as if you jumped right into the middle of two people's conversation. The very beginning of the film is very much like that as well, and you're just along for the ride. And it's not just the conversations that seem realistic, it's also how the teenagers and young adults talk. Teenagers and kids, they swear, they say obscene things because they're not fully mature yet, and this film fully embraces that fact. But enough's enough. Let's talk about Ladybird herself, brilliantly portrayed by Saoirse Ronan. Now, obviously, I know that I probably mispronounced that name, and I'm sorry. Credit where all the credit is due. Saoirse Ronan, her performance as Ladybird, it's brilliant, it's heartbreaking, it's heartwarming, and although everybody else, including Lucas Hedges from Manchester by the Sea, give really good performances, Saoirse Ronan, what she did here is Oscar-level work. Throughout the course of this runtime, her character has layers, she goes through a lot, she experiences a lot. Obviously, I'm not going to get into anything because I don't want to spoil that for you, but her performance latched onto me, it shook me, and by the end of the film, it brought me to tears. And one of the biggest reasons isn't just Saoirse Ronan's performance as Ladybird, but it is the performance of Laurie Metcalf as her mother and the relationship that those two have. Because throughout the entire runtime, Ladybird and her mother, they don't have the happiest of relationships. In fact, they're complete polar opposites. Ladybird wants to go in one direction, she thinks she'll be successful in one direction, and she's headed off to college. Her mother is pretty much the Stonewall in Ladybird's way that contradicts everything that Ladybird is trying to do. However, even though the relationship is pretty venomous, there is something very touching and very special about it. However, if I'm going to commend a star for this, it would be Greta Gerwig, the director. What she did here is kind of unprecedented. She took a concept of coming of age, which many of us are used to. She filmed it in a very unique way, she wrote it in a very unique way, and everything in this film feels beautiful and wholly original. Honestly, everybody, if I had any cons with Ladybird, this is where I put them, but I don't have any problems with the film. Every element of it is magical. It can connect with everybody. And whatever Greta Gerwig decides to do next, I am completely on board. The more I think about Ladybird, the more I love Ladybird, the more I want to see Ladybird again and again. And guys, Ladybird is suit worthy. And before we wrap up here, everybody, I just have a couple of things I want to say. First of all, my review for Pixar's newest film, Coco, is up on the channel, and at the moment, it's over 1,100 views. I gotta thank you all for that, because without your support, without your help, without everything that you do, I wouldn't have that many views, and I wouldn't have that much support. So I'm glad that you guys saw it. I'm glad that so many of you liked it, and I'm glad that Coco was just, quite frankly, authentic to Mexican culture. And lastly, everybody, if you love my reviews but you want to get my initial reactions, then I highly recommend picking up the Stardust app. It's a free app where everybody can go in, and once they see a movie or a TV show, they can react to that movie or TV show and give their thoughts on it. I have many of my thoughts about a few of the films that have come out this year. I have a couple of thoughts for Ladybird. So if that is something that interests you, and like I said, you want to check out my early reactions of films that I see, then go right ahead and pick it up. And as always, it is what you guys say that matters. So have you had a chance to see Ladybird yet? I understand if you haven't. I don't believe that Ladybird has completely gone nationwide as of yet, but if you have seen it, what did you think of it? And more importantly, what is your overall favorite coming of age film? Whatever may be on your mind, leave it down below so we can get a conversation started. And if you like what you've seen here and you want to see more, click right there and subscribe and become part of the fray of nerds who love cinema. You all have a fantastic day.